So in the Didi invited me to the lectures of her Gurudev, and he was coming to give lectures near Bhaktivedanta Manor in the village hall there. So I started going every day, and I liked his lectures, but I couldn't fully understand his accent. But there was some things that really struck me. He was speaking on this song, Shigu Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma. And then he came to the verse, Prema Bhakti Yaha Hoiti Avidya Vinasayate. And he asked everyone, what is the meaning and what comes first? Is it that Prema Bhakti comes and then all avidya is cleansed from the heart, all ignorance and anartas are cleansed from the heart? Or is it that first your heart is cleansed of all ignorance and anartas like lust, anger, greed and so on, and then bhakti will come? So different devotees were saying different things, but most of the devotees were saying, first our heart has to be cleansed and then bhakti will come. And then Gurudev said, no, actually first bhakti will come into the heart, and then all avidya, all ignorance will be cleansed from the heart. Otherwise, why did Srila Narottam Das Thakur say first prema bhakti yaha hoiti and then avidya vinasayate? So then I was like, wow, because I'd had a kind of similar question before. I asked the temple president of the manor at that time, similar question, and he said both happened at the same time. Anyway, Gurudev gave this siddhant, this conclusion, and then we went to a few of the lectures, and then my husband and I were discussing, should we continue to go to the lectures or should we continue our service of travelling book distribution? So then I was saying, well, I'd like to continue going to the lectures, but I don't really understand Srila Narayan Maharaj's accent so well, so I don't know how much I'm getting, So we'd more or less decided next day we were going to go on travelling book distribution, not go to any more lectures.
And your husband is a disciple of who?
He took Harinam initiation from Srila Tamal Kṛṣṇa Maharaj, but not Diksha, just Harinam initiation. And then he liked the lectures like me, but maybe he didn't understand so much either. So we decided we were going to go. But Shamarani Didi was there at the time, going to Gurudev's lectures, travelling with him. And her name was Jadarani before. And then she approached me, because I had a relationship with her in ISKCON. I'd seen her a few times, spoken to her. And then she said, what are you planning to do? Like, do you like the lectures? Are you planning to continue going? And I'm sure Gurudev and Krishna sent her just at the right time. And I said, well, we were planning from tomorrow to go on travelling book distribution. And she said, oh, really, why? And don't you want to continue coming to the lectures? Maharaj is going to continue. Maybe it was another 3 or 4 days, I can't remember. So then I said, well, I can't really understand his accent so much. And then she said, oh, really? But you do get used to it, And then she said, well, have you had a personal darshan with him? And I said, no, not here. I had in Navadvip before, but not there. And then she said, okay, well, I can arrange. And I said, okay, why not? It's worth staying around for. So then the following day, Gurudev was staying in Sridham Sakha Prabhu's place. He had a very, very small apartment, and many devotees were coming. Some devotees were coming for darshan. There was evening programs after that. After giving lectures in the village hall, then the programs had moved to Sridham Sakha Prabhu's place. And anyway, I went there during the day. and I was looking for Shamarani Didi, but she was nowhere to be found. So then I was like, well, I'm here to get Srila Narayan Maharaj's darshan. I was hoping the devotees would try to arrange, and one devotee said, oh yeah, okay, well, Maharaj is upstairs, you can go and see him. I was like, okay, well, great. So then I went up, and Gurudev was just in his room alone, and he was standing there, and I went, paid my pranams, and I said, oh, Maharaj, can I ask you some questions? He said, yes, sure. And I said, well, how do you know who is your guru? Because at that time, it was 1996, and I'd been 5 years in ISKCON, joined in 91, 96, I still hadn't taken initiation, all my friends had, So then, I was thinking of this verse, Cheko Dano Dilo Ye Jami Jami Prabhu say, from, Shri Guru Charana Padma, that your guru is your guru birth after birth, and, I was thinking, so I said, how do you recognize who is your guru? I had this idea. So then Gurudev, he gave this very long answer, but I remember him saying, you cannot go and search and find Guru yourself, but he'll come directly to you, and he'll come knocking on your door. So then I was like, oh, really? Here's me, I'd been searching for 5 years, and then, I felt, oh, and you've come directly to me now. I thought maybe you're my guru, So then I asked him a few other questions, and then the next day, actually Shamarani Didi said, okay, I'll arrange a darshan for you and your husband together. So I was like, okay, great. So we went, it was just Gurudev, myself, and my husband at that time. And then he started to speak first to Gurudev, and he started to pour out his heart about his experiences. And, he'd had some difficult experiences in ISKCON, and then Gurudev was really, intently listening to him. And then I could feel like Gurudev was looking at him with so much compassion. And then Gurudev turned to me, and he looked at me with that same compassion. But this time, it felt like a big wave of compassion coming towards me. I'd never experienced that before from any guru. And it just hit me, and my heart started melting, and then I just started to cry, because I felt this really intense compassion. So then I was crying, and then at that time I thought, I always thought, even I thought Srila Narayan Maharaj is a pure devotee, but I never kind of experienced it like that, and I thought, oh, okay, so this is what it means to meet a pure devotee. This is what it means, And then Gurudev turned to me at that time. He said, oh, well, if you want initiation, I'll give you initiation. And that time I was completely ready. I was like, yes, And so then it was arranged, after the darshan, that I take initiation. I can't remember if it was the next day or the day after. And then I remember one Prabhupada disciple, and he was coming to Gurudev at that time, and he was just, checking him out. And I thought, I'll just keep it quiet that I'm taking initiation, because there was some, controversy at that time. So then he said, oh, my name was Bhakti and Kṛṣṇa at that time. So he said, oh, Bhakti and Kṛṣṇa, I've heard you're going to take initiation from Srila Narayan Maharaj. Are you sure you know what you're doing? And then I was like, well, yeah. And then Anyway, later on, he completely took shelter of Gurudev and took sannyas from Gurudev. So, Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj. He was Nemi Maharaj. Yeah, it was funny. So anyway, I took initiation, and you see, I'd been planning to go to the US and spend some time with Radhanath Swami and get to know him to see if I was going to take initiation, but then that time I took from Gurudev. So then Shamarani he said, oh well, why don't you go on Gurudev's US tour? I was like, okay, why not? I was going to go to the US anyway. So I went on his first world tour. Of course, he'd started in Holland, went through England. I went all the places in England, and then from there to the US. I went many places in the US, except for the last part. I booked my ticket to go back to the UK in time for the London Rath Yatra, which I loved, I didn't want to miss. But going on Gurudev's tour, it was so inspiring and exciting, and it was, darshans and classes, and, his classes to me were like out of this world. They were so brilliant. And whatever he would speak, if it would be just simply Upadeshamrita or from Srimad Bhagavatam, Manashiksha, all these different books he would speak on, and when he'd tell Krishna Leela, it was like, you were carried to Braj, it was really, and it was like, before you would hear these pastimes, before you might read these pastimes in Krishna book, and say, you get some kind of idea, some kind of taste, but I felt transported to Braj. I think Gurudev would transport his whole audience to Braj, it was really amazing. And Gurudev was so sweet, so personal. And many ISKCON devotees were coming, they were meeting him, and some, a lot had doubts, and even they would express their doubts. But very soon Gurudev would like melt their hearts, and they were listening to Gurudev and wanting to hear more and more, So I was going on that tour, then we came, from the East Coast, going to the West Coast, and we went LA, Baja, it was an amazing festival there in the mountains, near the Sequoia National Forest. And then from there, I think maybe it was from there, LA and then San Francisco, I can't remember, but after LA, that part where Gurudev was going to San Francisco, that was when my ticket was booked to go back. So I was really regretting it, and then I approached Gurudev and I said, I have my ticket back to London tomorrow or something. And then he said, really, you're going so soon, but the tour hasn't finished yet? You're not coming to San Francisco? And I said, well, no, I booked my ticket like that. He said, well, can't you change your ticket? And then I was like, oh, well, not really, no. So I went back, but then by the time I got back, I was so jet lagged, and I kind of ended up being late for the Rath Yatra anyway. And then they go to maybe Hyde Park or some park. They have a big festival there. So I made it there. But all the devotees had found out I'd taken initiation from Srila Maharaj, and then they were kind of a little distant from me, and then I felt really bad, and why did I come back early, So I thought at that time, well, I just want to go on all Gurudev's tours, I decided. So then, after that tour, actually, then it came time for Kartik, Braj Mandal Parikrama. So I went to Braj for the whole Kartik Braj Mandal Parikrama, and then that was really amazing, You know, I don't think I don't remember doing the whole Brajmandal Parikrama. I think at that time in ISKCON maybe they were doing a walking Parikrama and I didn't do that. So sometimes this was in 1996. So I'd met Gurudev in 94, 96 took initiation, went on his tour, went for Parikrama, and you know, it was beautiful. It was very beautiful, you know. And at each place Gurudev would speak all the different pastimes of Radha and Kṛṣṇa. And, you know, sometimes he'd speak in Hindi, sometimes English for us. But there was translations. So I was there. I really loved the Parikrama. And then maybe stayed a little longer and went back to England, went back for Navadvip Dham Parikrama, Goromandal Parikrama. That was really amazing with all these, so many Bengalis. It was like going out from Devananda Gaudiya Math in Navadvip, and it was like thousands and thousands of Bengalis, and you know, they used to say like 8,000 or more at that time. I don't know how many, but it was a lot. And you know, they were so enthusiastic, the Bengalis, you know, and the bhajans and the kirtans were amazing, and you know, there'd always be this kind of rush to keep up with Mahaprabhu. They were carrying him on the palanquin and rushed to get on the boat with Mahaprabhu, and it was fun. Anyway, I loved that Parikrama. After that, stayed on a little and went back to England, and I was ready for the next tour. So I decided that I want to go on every tour with Gurudev. So I think it maybe started in Europe, went in all the different countries in Europe, maybe Holland, France, Italy, Spain. I did so many different countries, I can't remember. And then, and of course England. And then I went on that American tour, and yeah, wherever Gurudev would go, I'd try to go. America, Hawaii, Canada, all these different countries. And my husband was paying for the tickets. He was a big book distributor, so you know, each day he would go out, he could collect hundreds of pounds, so it was not a problem for him to pay for the tickets. And so what happened was, you know, my friend Sharma Priyadidi, she's from Canada, and the second year went on the tour. She said, "Oh, I want to do a drama for Gurudev. Do you want to, you know, be in it?" So it was actually a drama about the reasons for Mahaprabhu's descent, because that was a subject Gurudev would like to speak on. So then she wanted me to play Radharani, because you know, it was when Kṛṣṇa was there in Braj, and Radharani was resting on his lap, and she had this dream. What's it called? Anyway, it's by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, this beautiful pastime. And you know, it's one of the reasons for Mahaprabhu's descent. So I played the role of Radharani, and I think she played Kṛṣṇa, I'm not sure. So, and you know, Advaita Acharya is calling for Kṛṣṇa to descend, Mahaprabhu like this, and all these things. So Gurudev, he loved the drama. And I remember I playing the role of Radharani, and you know, when I was saying sometimes this beautiful golden figure would faint, sometimes he'd laugh, sometimes he'd cry, and I would like be laughing and crying and fainting, and I think it was probably over-exaggerating everything. But anyway, afterwards Gurudev came up to me and he said, "Oh, you played that role of Radharani so well. I've never seen anyone play Radharani like that before." But you know, he was just encouraging me. But so then, yeah, that was it. So then, afterwards, I wanted to do more dramas for Gurudev, And when I was young, I went for a short time to drama school, and I loved drama, you know. So like this, I started writing dramas, and